Hey, how's it going guys? My name's Daniel, aka HashLips, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll be building out a Discord bot utilizing QuickNode's new product called QuickAlerts. Yes, so we are going to build out a Discord bot that's going to notify us whenever something changes on the blockchain via an event. And we're going to use QuickAlerts for this. Now, QuickAlerts is not only used for Discord bots. In fact, it is a cool notification service provided by QuickNode, and the service, QuickAlerts, makes it easy to consume these notifications. We can basically think of the QuickAlerts service as a push notification. When something happens on the blockchain, an event occurs, we get pushed some data, and we get to consume it in whatever form we want to, making the use case endless. But in today's video, we are going to consume that data and build out our bot. Before we start, please note that this video is for educational purposes only. We'll be dealing with webhooks inside of Discord, and generally, you'll need a security expert to secure the endpoints of your bot. So just don't use this code exactly like this in production. This is to show the power of the tool. Let's get going. To follow along, there are some prerequisites. Make sure that you have Node.js installed on your machine and that you have an IDE, an integrated development environment. I like to use Visual Studio Code. It's free, so make sure that you have this installed as well. Now, in order for us to get successful bot messages to our Discord channel, we need a few things. First, we need to activate webhooks. So I've created this brand new server called My Test Server, and it has a general chat. I'm going to enable the webhook by clicking on Edit Channel, then going into the integrations and create webhook. And now we can see the Spidey bot was created. We can click on this drop down and see more information, change the name, update the image. But what we are interested in is this webhook URL. Later on, we'll use this information to push some messages for Discord to render them in the chat. Again, I just want to reiterate that enabling webhooks on Discord, especially with large communities attached to it, is not a safe thing to do unless you know what you are doing. So just tread cautiously. However, this is now ready. I'm going to leave this as it is. And the next thing for us to do is to create a GitHub repository. GitHub is a great tool for source control. It allows for us to upload some code to a central repository for people to collaborate on, and so we can have access to the code and track changes. We need to make a repository because later on, we'll actually host this application, our server, on Heroku. So, firstly, create yourself a GitHub account by going to github.com. Once you are on your profile page, you can either click on this plus icon, New Repository, or in the repositories channel, you can click on New over here. We are now going to give our repository a name. I'm going to call this my test bot, which should be fine. You can also optionally include a description. For now, I'm going to make this private, and then I'm going to choose a template for the git ignore. This means we're going to create a Node.js application, and we want the template to be for Node.js. You can of course enter a license as well, maybe MIT. We can also add our README file, which will now set main as the default branch. For now, don't worry about most of this if you are not used to GitHub. Just go ahead and create the repository. And here it is. It's listed under my name and then testbot. Think of this repository as a container of some sort that's going to take code files, data files, whatever files we give it, that's going to make up our application. This repository will then be available for us to use anywhere around the world, and we can push changes to it and it will keep track of them. That's exactly what source control is. At the moment, we can see that we have three files, the git ignore, license, and readme. But in order for us to add some data and some files, we need a copy of this repo, this repository, on our local machine. We can go ahead and click on the code over here, and then there's various ways of doing this. We can either clone it using the CLI, or if you want to use an interface, you can choose Open with GitHub Desktop. You might need to install this first, But if you click on this, the process is fairly simple. Let's click on this and this will open the desktop app. Now we get to choose where we want to clone this repository to. For now, I'm just simply going to choose my desktop. I'm going to say clone. And what this is going to do is basically clone all the code inside here as a folder on my desktop. We can see that we are in this repository. As we can see, here's the folder, and if we open it, there's our files. Perfect, we can't see the gitignore because it's a dot file. Now, what we can do next is go to Visual Studio Code, click on Open Desktop, and open our test bot. You can also keep the GitHub desktop app open because as we are doing changes, we are going to push the code via this application, and I'll show you how to do that. For now, we can initialize our Node.js application. So go to the top, click on Terminal, New Terminal. In here, make sure that you have Node installed as a prerequisite by typing in node-v, and indeed I have. Then we can type npm init and hit enter. The npm init command will ask us a bunch of questions that we can fill in, but for now we can just hit enter a few times until it created the application for us. And here we can see we now have a package.json file. This file is necessary for any Node.js application, and in our license we set MIT, so I'm going to change that to be MIT. For now, we can see that the main entry point to our application is going to be the index.js file. So let's go ahead and create that in our root directory. Right click, say new file, and then type in index.js. Now in order to make sure that everything worked fine, we're going to console.log just hello. Save the file, and in the terminal, type in node index.js. Run it, and we can see the log hello. So everything is set in place. Now let's get Discord hooked up by using the discord.js library so we can actually send some messages to our Discord server. And here it is, discord.js. This is a library that's going to help make that connection, sending messages in an easy way. So we need to install that. We can go ahead and use npm, so copy that command, npm install discord.js. And because we have a package.json file, now Node knows where to install our dependencies. Soon it will create for us a Node modules folder, and that's where these files and these libraries will live. And there we can see it. Notice how the Node modules folder is grayed out. That's because it's not included in our source control. If we look at the gitignore file, we can see that Node modules is listed over here. It means that it will ignore this whole folder. And that's good because we don't want to bulk up the application with all the dependency logic. It's way better to clone a repository and run npm install, and then it will install all the Node modules for us. It's important to know how to exclude files from source control because later on we'll do that with some sensitive data. Alright, so let's get Discord set up. First we're going to create a variable and we'll call this Discord. We're going to require the actual library, and that would be discord.js. We can then go ahead and create a new variable and call this maybe Webhook client. This will be equal to a new Discord instance of the Webhook client, like so. If we now hover over this Webhook client, we can see that it takes in some data and options. Now, what is this data? I'm just quickly going to hold Command and click on this function and go and see that this is the type. And if I go and drill down even further, I can see that there's a Webhook client data URL, which is a URL and a string. So it tells me that in here, what we can pass is a URL, and then we need the URL. Remember when we created our webhook? Well, now we're going to copy this webhook URL. So copy that, go to our code, and let's paste it in here. Now this is sensitive data, and I'll show you how to hide this with the .env protocol. But before we go there, let's first test this out. We can see that this is our URL, and the only thing left to do is basically use it. So we can actually now say Webhook client.send, and we can send a message. So let's type out a message. Send takes in a string and a payload. So let's just start with a string. So I'm going to say hello from the bot, like so. Technically, if we run this program, then it should send a message to our general chat. So we should see it pop up in here. And then in the terminal, type node index.js, or alternatively, because we have ran this command before, we can just press the up arrow to go to our history. And there it is again. So just run node index.js. Okay, and we have our first error. Now I decided to leave this in the video so that you can troubleshoot as well. After doing some research, basically I found out that my Node.js version is too low. So what I am going to do now in the terminal is clear it by pressing Command K, and then I'm going to type in nvm use 18. And what nvm does is using a different Node version. If you don't have that version, it will ask you to install it first. Now my Node is version 18. I'm going to now go in my history and run node index.js again, and hopefully it looks like a success. It doesn't have any output because the program ran. But if we go to our Discord server, indeed we do. Hello from the bot. Here's our message. So this is pretty cool. What we've done so far is created a Node.js application that's basically utilizing Discord.js and the webhook URL to send a message. We can run the program again, node index.js, and if we check Discord, there's our message again. So, wonderful, we've successfully made a bot. However, this bot is only going to send hello from the bot, or unless I change it in some way. At this point, we now need to get some data, and this is where QuickNode and the QuickAlerts come in. We are now going to get some data from the QuickAlerts service from QuickNode and consume that data and relay it over as a message to our users in our Discord channel. Now, the one thing we need to realize is that this application is running on my local machine. So there's no way for any kind of notification system like QuickAlerts to send information to my API, because we don't have an API first of all, and everything is running locally. So the next two things that we need to do is first secure this data in an environment variable, and then we're going to build out a simple API for a notification system to send us some data. To secure our sensitive data, we can basically go ahead and install a new package. Let's run npm install and then .env. This is going to help us to use a .env file. So in our root folder, right-click new file and type .env. Before we do anything else, we need to confirm that in our gitignore, we have the .env file. Now, GitHub template was smart enough to add this for us, regardless if we added it ourselves or not. But if it's not here, make sure that it is, and also that the file is grayed out. We don't want to add this environment variables to our source control. Perfect. Now, let's go ahead and type out webhook underscore URL, and we're going to give it a value. The value is going to be this. So I'm just going to copy that and paste it in here. In the index file, we can say const.env is equal to require.env. Perfect. Now we just need to initialize it, so we can type .env.config. And that's it. Now we will be able to use environment variables in our code. So instead of having this, we can now say process.env.the webhook. So we had webhook, and just make sure that the spelling is exactly the same as this. like so. So technically, if we now run the program again, node index.js, it should still work, and indeed it does. So great. Now we have secured our environment variable. Keep in mind, even though I'm showing mine on the video, I'm going to remove the server after this video, so it won't be relevant. So don't show that to anyone. Okay, next up, we need to create an API. We'll use Express.js to do that. In order to build a RESTful API, we can make use of Express. So go ahead and say npm install Express and hit enter. This will give us a nice library to create a server and make our API. Next, in the same format as before, we're going to simply import Express from Express, like so. Then let's go ahead and create the variable app and equal this to Express and instantiate it. We can also have a variable for our port, and this is actually going to be equal to the process.env.port. And if it's not specified, so if it's not there, then we're going to default to port 3000. To make sure that our app is set up to handle JSON, we can say app.use and then just add express.json in here. Perfect. Now let's go ahead and set up our first route. The first route is going to be a GET route, and it's going to point to the home directory, so to speak. And for this, we need to give it a callback. And in here, we're going to take the request and the response. So what do we want to return if someone lands on this route? Well, I can say res.send, which is the response, and then we can send something. I'm just going to say welcome for now. And that's it for the GET route. I'm actually going to cut this and paste it right here below our port, so that the next piece of code can actually be the POST route. The POST route will have a similar structure, so I can go ahead and copy this and paste it over here. Then change the GET to POST. Now, even though this is the same route, in REST, this is okay, because one is a GET and one is a POST. With the POST endpoint, we are going to accept some JSON data. So we can go ahead and extract it, and this is known as the body, and I'm just going to call this body data, and this will be equal to the request.body, like so. For testing purposes, I would like to return exactly the body that was sent to us. And I'm going to do that by typing in JSON stringify, because we need to return a string, and pass in the body data. This will give us back exactly the body that someone has sent via a post. Perfect. For now, I'm going to comment out the Webhook client, save this, and now we need to actually just run our application. So we need to launch our server. We can do that by saying app.listen, and listen takes in the port, and we already have the port variable up here. And then we're going to pass in a callback. So we're going to do that, and for a callback, we'll just log out. Okay, so all that's left to do is to run our application. In the bottom here in the terminal, I'm going to run node index.js, hit enter, and we can see that the server is running. And if we go to the browser and look at localhost port 3000, we can see that we get the welcome message from our GET route. Now, how do we test the POST route? Because we can't do that with the URL. There is something cool, a cool tool called Postman. Here it is. Postman is an amazing tool when you want to test APIs. So go ahead and register and also install it on your machine. It is free to use. When you have installed it, you can open the application and it will look like this. We're going to go to Workspaces, and this is the default workspace. You can rename it, but what we are interested in is clicking on this plus icon to make a request. In particular, we want to make a post request. So change this to post, and then we will need this URL at the top, and go to Postman, and paste it in here. When you do this, make sure that your service is running. So in Postman, I'm now going to click on body and raw and select JSON. I'm going to give some JSON data, maybe my name, and give it a value as Daniel. And now we're going to click on send. So send, and there we go. The request was 200, which means it's okay and worked. And in the response, we exactly got back what the JSON was. And this tells me that this is working. So what does this mean to us? Well, we can now take this webhook send and actually put it inside of our post. Now we will send back a response, and maybe we'll keep it the same so that we can see what kind of data is being pushed to us. But also what we can do is send some message to our Discord. We know that we might get a name. So I'm now going to change this and say, hello, my name is, and then concatenate this and put in body data dot name. Now, if name is picked up in the JSON, it should show in Discord. So let's go ahead and save this, exit the execution, pressing Ctrl C, and then running it again. We need to restart the service because we've changed the code. Now that our service is running again, we can go to Discord and have a look. We don't see any message, but let's see what happens if I go to Postman and send this. It says it's okay, and on Discord it says, hello, my name is Daniel. And if we change our name to John and send that, then we should see a message, hello, my name is John. This is brilliant, and essentially we've created an actual bot. And we can stop at this point, but we want live data to be sent to our bot and then display it to our users. Now we cannot do this right now because even though QuickNode is an amazing service, it will not be able to send notifications to our local machine because we need to host our application somewhere where QuickNode can find us. In order to start that process, make sure that everything is saved. Then let's go ahead and open GitHub, the desktop application. We can see that we've added some files and made some changes. I'm now going to simply go here and update this. I'm just going to say edit files and then commit this to the main branch. Click on push, and guess what? Now GitHub is going to be updated. So this is our repository. And if we refresh, we should see the extra files. And indeed we do. This step is important because we are going to host our application right from our repository using Heroku. Heroku is free to use and it's easy to set up. So let's go ahead and use it. Set up an account, and then once you get to the dashboard of Heroku, you can click on create a new app. Let's give our application a name. I'm going to call this test-bot-app, and then go ahead and click on create. This is our dashboard of the testbot app, and now we get to select a deployment method. Because we have set up our source control with GitHub, I'm going to select GitHub, and then we need to connect our GitHub account. So click on connect. Once we are connected, we can see our profile. And now let's go ahead and search for our repo, which was called testbot. I'm going to click on search, and there it is. Let's connect this repository. All right, and this is where we get to set up our deployments, either an automatic deployment from a selected branch or a manual deployment. But before we deploy, let's quickly go to our code, right-click and create a new file. We need to create something called a proc file, and this is for Heroku to know what command to run to start our service. So we're going to say web, and we need to run node index.js. Save this, go to the GitHub application, and just say updated. proc file, and then let's push. After this is done, we can now go back here and let's just deploy the branch. I'm going to do it manually. Click on deploy and let's wait. It's deployed successfully, so we can go ahead and view this. Before we do, remember we had environmental variables. So for now, I'm going to go to settings, scroll down, reveal config vars, and in here we need to set our env environment variable, which is Webhook. So copy that, paste that in there, and then get the value, which is this, and add. Perfect. What we can do now is scroll down and look at our testbot application. Let's click on this link, and there we go. We can see welcome, but this time it's not local, it is actually running and everyone can see this. What this means is that I can copy this link now, open up Postman, swap this out for the Heroku app, and now let's say that my name is Bill, and I'm going to send this. Sending it, and it's okay. So now, moment of truth, in Discord, we see my name is Bill. So our full system is working. Our app is now actually running in the cloud, and if we post to it, we get messages in Discord. So the next thing for us to do is visit QuickNode.com and go and create a free account. Once you have done so, you can go to the dashboard. This is the very first thing that you'll see. Currently, we don't have any endpoints, so we need to create one. Let's go and create an endpoint. First, let's go ahead and choose a chain. I'm going to go with Ethereum. And then what network? We can either choose some of the test networks or the main network. I'm going to go with the main network and then click on continue. This will give us an overview of some of the products that QuickNode provides that's included, as we can see. Some of them we can also add, but for now we are not going to add anything else. We are simply going to say continue, and then we need to select a payment option. The build one is sufficient because it comes with the QuickAlerts, but you can choose any. If you go for the free one, you will not have access to the QuickAlerts. I'm going to go for the build one because I intend on making more series on the great products from QuickNode. So I'm going to hit continue and then fill in my details. Now that we have a subscription, we can see our endpoint over here. And also we can see QuickAlerts. And this is exactly what we want. So click on this and let's create a QuickAlert. Now we get to give our alert a name. I'm going to call this my test bot -alert, like so. And then we can select the chain. Again, I want to select the Ethereum chain and be on the main network. Then we are presented with some cool templates that we can use. The templates include transferred NFTs, minting NFTs, tracking smart contract events, failed transactions, and much, much more. And we can also create a blank template from scratch as well. For our testing purposes, we are going to monitor a smart contract events. So select that, and then I'm going to hit next. In here, we can see that create expression has a box. Now these expressions can be custom made and can get quite complex. You can add custom logic using some of these operators. The reason why these expressions can get very custom is because QuickNode provides for us the parameters to track things on a block level, transaction level, and log level. For example, we might take a block parameter, let's say the block number, and then add this to our expression. Depending on that block number, maybe we also want to track a type of transaction. And then we can use these parameters over here, combining it with some of these modifiers and conditional statements. As you can see, this can get very detailed. You can also optionally track things on a higher level. For instance, if you just want to track stuff from a smart contract, you will maybe only use this. Or you can also optionally use this as well. Because how the blockchain works is that it's based on the blocks and a transaction level as well. Let's say that we want to track whenever a token is transferred from a certain contract. Well, what we could do is essentially use this to track the address, and let's go and search for a contract. We'll copy this address from the Sketchy A Book Club, go back and paste it in here. Then we'll simply add a AND operator to say if it's this address and we are looking for a certain type of signature, and the signature that we are looking for will be in the log topic 0. I'll show you now why, but let's just add this for now. And let's go and search for the signature. Back on Etherscan, if we go to the events of this contract, we can see here's a transfer event. And topic 0 has this unique signature. This is the actual signature of the event that's emitted when a transfer takes place. And we can see it's the same because here's another one and it's the exact same signature. Perfect. So we can now go back and add this in here. So this expression will be looking for any transaction from this token address, or at least this contract address, and with a topic that has a signature of transfer. And if this is the case, we'll get a notification and we can then work with the parameters. I hope that you understand how to work with these expressions a bit better. However, in the description of this video, I'll leave this article. This is a wonderful article that explains it in even more detail, so feel free to take a look. Let's carry on. For example, the TX logs address is going to be the contract address, and I'm going to choose the Sketchy Ape Book Club NFT contract. So I'm going to copy this address, and then I'm going to paste it in here. Then I want to go ahead and add an extra logical operator, which means that I'll need to wrap this statement in brackets, add the AND statement, and then add a new condition. The condition that I want to add will make more sense if I show you the contract. If we go to Etherscan and click on the contract and go to events, I can see recently there was a safe transfer. And if I open it, I can see there's a from address. And this address is actually mine. So I can actually go ahead and copy my address. And in this condition, I want to check whenever my address or my wallet transfers an NFT, I want to get notified and an NFT on this contract. We can now go to the targets and we can simply go and take this and paste it in here and say, if this is equal to my address. So let me just grab this and paste it in here. You can always try testing your expressions against some of the blocks, but in this case it would be pretty hard for me to exactly capture this, so I'm just going to trust that I did it correctly and click on next. And at this point we get to create a destination. So click here, and now we're going to select Webhook. Keep in mind that even though we're doing some cool Discord stuff, you can see that QuickNode is planning on making some cool social media extensions. For now, we're just going to simply use the webhook and click on continue. Now we can give this a name, and I'm going to make this my test bot and maybe destination. Okay, and what destination are we going to give it? Well, we have our Heroku app. So I'm going to paste this and change this to post. This means that this content over here will be sent in the body. And this seems to be a big chain of data with all the blocks information. I'm now going to create my webhook and then wait for it. And here, enable the service and click on deploy alert. With this now set up and set in place, And we are waiting with our Discord server for a message. Who knows what is going to happen right now? Because remember, if we send some data now to our post, we need a variable name, and the name might not be there, so it might break. However, I am going to test it anyway and show you the whole process. I'm now on my account, and I'm going to go ahead and transfer one of these sketchy apes. This should in turn trigger the service, and we should see something happening. We should see the webhook from QuickNode post a notification to our service, and in turn post a Discord message. So the transaction was successful, and our moment of truth, let's check Discord. And hey, we got it. So it says, hello, my name is undefined, which is expected because we don't know the name, but we can verify that something actually was sent through. All that's now left is for us to actually process the body's data, maybe filter out the address that we are searching for, and then render something special. By the way, if we go to QuickNode on the QuickAlerts dashboard, if we go to our test destination, click on this arrow, we can actually see that this is the expression, here is the destination, and guess what? There's our first event that was sent through successfully. So this means that everything is working. The only thing left now is to process the data. So let me quickly try and do that and come up with something a bit better than hello undefined. In order for me to clean up the data, I needed to know the format of how this body looks like. So I console logged this out in a JSON stringify format, and I sent it as the response as well. This allowed me to do my test and transfer a token on OpenSea, and then on Heroku, if I go to more and go to view logs, I get to see the entire body. To make sense of it all, I then take the data and put it in this JSON formatter website, pasting it in and processing it. This gives me a cleaner version of the actual data. So here we can see the actual data coming back to us. We can see that the structure is firstly in an array, and the first element of an array is the object. In this object, we get the block hash, the block number, and various fields that we can now use. So by analyzing the data, I realized that I can take this from field, which gives me the address who sent the token. And I know it's kind of my address because that's the parameters that I gave the QuickAlerts. However, I can use this from the body. And also, in this logs array, in the first element, we get these topics. And this very last topic is indeed the hex value of the token ID that was transferred. And that I can use as well. With the information at hand now on how the body looks like, I could construct my Webhook client. So I did it like this. I added looks like address, and then the body first index dot from, just transferred a token ID, and then I passed everything as a number, then integer, and took the body, the first index, logs, first index, topics, and then the third index. And the 16 is so that I can pass the hex value to a normal number. Alright, so now that everything is in here, I should be able to deploy my Heroku app again and then see everything working. After making your changes on the code, make sure that you do update this in your source control. So I'm just going to say updated and then push the code. Next, I'll go to Heroku, go to deploy, and go all the way down and hit deploy branch. Once this is done, everything should be in place. The QuickAlerts service is ready and waiting, our app is up and running, and everything is waiting to push some data to Discord. Okay, all that's left to do for us is to transfer a token. Let's transfer this little guy. Click on transfer, continue, And the token ID is 2793. I'm going to transfer this to another account. And let's do this and see if it works. I'm going to hit OK, confirm. And now, while we wait, let's just go to Discord, sit and wait a bit, and see if we get a message. And indeed we do. It says, well, looks like address this, just transferred token ID 2793. And ladies and gentlemen, that's how you build a Discord bot and use QuickNode's amazing QuickAlerts service. I really hope that you enjoyed your time with me today, and if you did, let me know in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up and remember to subscribe and turn on that bell notification. If you have questions for QuickNode, feel free to join their Discord and ask around. And as always, if you have some developer questions and you just don't know the answer and you want to join a cool community, feel free to go to HashLips.online and join our Discord server as well, where there's thousands of devs to help you out. And I'll see you in the next video. Cheers for now.